Welcome to part 3. It is now time to look at your own country. Of course, I do not know the specifics like your history, your current legislation, your educational system, and so on. As education is deeply embedded in national policies, it can sometimes be difficult to get a good grasp of what exists, even if you come from that same country. Many systems have also developed over a long time, adding bits and pieces, making the system complex like a quilt. If I look at the educational system of Finland, for example, it is a mishmash of different actors, policies, funding mechanisms, history, initiatives, and so on. So, where should we start? I think it helps to get an overview, to try and see the big picture in order to know where to go next. Think of it as a map, pointing to the places you want to visit. And remember, each country is unique, a result of history, traditions, economic situations, and many more factors. Therefore, it does not really make sense to just copy and paste an educational system from another country. I mean, yes, we can and we should still learn from one another. Of course we should. That is what Curriculum Globale is partly about, after all. When you look at the map we are about to make, remain critical, but try to understand the reasons for its outlines and try also to find what is good, what is working in the system. And remember, this is a map. Not to where the treasure is hidden, but to get a better, bigger picture. And just like a strategy without indicators is a flawed strategy, a map to the education system does not in itself evaluate how well some of the institutions are working, just that they exist or do not exist. In other words, it is not enough to tick off this list and then say, we have all of that, so all is well. It is my experience that we, as adult educators, often must also work as a kind of watchdogs, making sure the letter of the law is fulfilled, the funding is allocated, and the civil servants following a code of conduct, and so on. Let us now build a map, shall we? Everything starts with legislation. What laws are defining and governing the education of your country? What policies and other strategic documents are in place? Has your country signed up to implement or develop parts of your national educational system according to a transnational or international agreement? Do you have a Ministry of Education in your country, or is it combined with something else? This is the public infrastructure in a country dealing with education. Which other ministries have education as part of their remit? Do you have centers or other institutions that govern, help, or monitor adult education on a national level? Next, let us look at the stakeholders. Here I am talking about every institution or unit involved in the provision of adult education services. I mean, for example, schools, universities, workers and civic universities, public, private and non-profit institutions, companies, NGOs, and so on. Collect all these types of stakeholders in a list, and then, if you can, add numbers of annual learners or some other way of categorizing the stakeholders according to impact. Perhaps this information is already collected by the ministry or some other body. Now we come to the beneficiaries, the learners. How does your country define an adult? What age, for example? Of these, how many are annually in learning? What type of learning? What is a typical adult learner in your country? This helps you see who in society is excluded or given less learning opportunities. Next, we have funding. Always look for the money. How is the system funded, the education system funded? Here you should look at the national budget, but also private funders, private schools, educational programs, and donors. Who are the trainers? What requirements are there in your country to be an adult educator? What training exists? Are they organized? Is it a popular profession? What is the status of an adult educator in your country? And finally, we need to talk about quality. What system or systems for ensuring quality do you have? Is there a formally structured system for ensuring the quality of adult education in terms of provision, infrastructure, certification? And that's it. This is the checklist for making a map. But wait a second. No system is complete, and no system is perfect. No system works to 100% according to the schematics such a map as we have just made indicates. Making this map will help you grasp the complexity of this question, and I think also help you identify gaps and weak parts. I'm sure you noticed I did not provide any answers here, only questions. This is deliberate. Sometimes I think the work of a good adult educator is to ask the right questions, the tough questions, and then to facilitate the discussion. Did I miss something? What else do you need in order to make a map of the educational system in your country? Think about that for a while before you move on to the last section in Module 1, the section entitled What Does It Take to Be a Good Adult Educator? See you there.